why is it the case that people feel like INFJs have their act together, even if, in fact, it's often not the case? That's a question that was kindly asked by Sales Strife, one of my very, very active and productive followers. I thank her for that. Again, another really good question that hopefully will be an opportunity for me to explore, the whole idea of INFJ life and what it involves for INFJs and other people, and its interactions with the deep and existential structures that characterize the INFJ mode of being, okay? So we're gonna mix a bit of philosophy, a bit of psychology, possibly a bit of psychoanalysis, and see what we get, okay? So, is it true, first of all, that people get the sense that INFJs have their act together? I mean, it's true that this is what we read about, but is what we read about actually faithful to the facts? I think it mostly is. It's something that I've noticed before, and hopefully some INFJs will interact and in the comment section and speak to their own experience, see if their own experience aligns with what I'm going to say here. I've often been struck by the feeling that even when I didn't seem to have my act together, at least I very much felt like I didn't. It was never something that people easily picked up on. I mean, if I got particularly distressed for some objective reason or whatever, yeah, they would pick up on that. But often this mild sense of just not really being together, it's just not something that people pick up on. Part of me always felt relieved by that, because I never really liked to be the center of attention and what I felt to be a negative prism. On the other hand, it can also lead sometimes to a feeling of frustration that people are not noticing when we need support, which is a topic that I addressed in a recent video, so you can check back if you can look at that video also for further context. So it seems that there is a grain of truth to this idea that INFJs seem to be kind of together. They come across more together than they often feel like they really are. And notice something here. There's an important distinction that I just drew in the way I phrase this. I'm not saying that INFJs seem more together than they really are. I'm saying that INFJs seem more together than they feel themselves to be. And this distinction is important, and hopefully it will be clarified in the course of this video. So let's assume that INFJs tend to give the sense that they are together. They're kind of formal, they're kind of serious, they're able to be funny, but against the backdrop of overall kind of privacy, seriousness, and responsibility. Okay, so let's say that that's often the case, and they might think, come on, I'm actually really not together. How come people are not noticing? What is this thing that's going on? What is it that I'm projecting? And I don't seem to have any control over the fact that I'm projecting this. I might not be unhappy that I'm projecting this sense of being together, because that might save me from some unwarranted questions and prying, or intrusive queries. But at the same time, it's just a weird existential experience. And here's my interpretation. INFJs are often more together than they give themselves credit for. That's not to say that I'm claiming, look, all INFJs are super healthy, they're doing really well, just cop on and appreciate that and start working and start, progressing in your life project and stop complaining. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm trying to say is that INFJs tend to be a little bit harsh toward themselves when it comes to whether or not they're together, whether they have their life in order, whether they're holding things balanced out, whether they are together. And the reason why that's the case, I think, is that unlike most people, INFJs experienced a very profound sense, it has an existential structure, of severance from external reality. More specifically, severance between external reality and all its roles and jobs and responsibilities and people and objects and relationships and norms and rules and values and so forth. A sense of severance between that domain, which is very much a domain that they are in, and the domain of the NI world, which is a domain that obeys its own rules and norms and has its own kinds of objects, usually symbols and dynamics. It has a kind of holistic integrity that really, I think, justifies calling it a world that INFJs really can inhabit and INTJs can inhabit as well. But it's just very distinct from the world of external reality, and the disconnect between those two worlds, the discordance, the discrepancy, is difficult to bridge. Some INFJs might never bridge it for their entire lives. It's probably more common in occurrence than we appreciate. In any case, I think that when INFJs experience particular difficulties bridging those two worlds is when they're most likely to feel at the subjective level that they're not together. Because you see, in keeping with the whole notion of a Jungian existentialism, which is the position I defend in my work on types, it's not like severance is something very abstract that we can just talk as a sort of top-down, broad concept and then try to see how we can forcibly apply it to the life of INFJs. No, it's experienced from minute to minute, from hour to hour, in every moment of the day. At some points during the day, an INFJ will be able to bring the NI world and the world of externality closer together, and at other times of the day, they will tend to get more separate. There will be more distance between them, and like there'll be this force trying to separate them, right? So this kind of dynamic or dialectic between attraction and repulsion is something that INFJs have to deal with, and the idea of resolving or transcending severance it's not just the idea of bridging the two worlds, but rather strengthening the bridging that exists only fitfully to make it more permanent. So at those times when the bridging seems to be at its most brittle, and again, it can happen at any moment in the day and be followed hours later by something that feels much closer, we're dealing basically with a fluctuating ability to resolve severance here. An INFJ is probably going to feel like at some level they're not together, okay? They're not together in terms of the dwelling together of those two worlds that they both inhabit. But at the very same time, and that's the crucial insight, I think, they could, at the very same time, be quite together in external reality and together in the NI world. Where they will feel they're not together is in the merging or fusing between them, or in the fusion of horizons between them, to use the word of Gadamer. They might feel like whether they're being together in the externality and also sort of juxtaposed to that in the NI world is irrelevant to their broader sense of not being together in their ability to bring those two worlds together. So the togetherness is not a togetherness in one world or the other, but a togetherness of the two worlds. And that's something that other people are not going to see unless they have a very keen understanding of how an INFJ functions, and they probably would have to be familiar with Jungian theory. They might have to be familiar with my own theories and my own books to really appreciate this. So what people will see usually externally is they're being together in the external world. But the INFJ might be together in the NI world too. It's the togetherness of the two worlds, and it's usually only the INFJ who can experience this sense of being estranged and not together. So no surprise people don't notice, because people can't see that. People don't have access to severance, except perhaps other INFJs who can empathically put themselves in the shoes of their fellow INFJ. So hopefully that was clear. Give me a like if you enjoyed the video, guys. If you want to learn more about INFJs, I have written my latest book on the INFJs called The Infinite Soul, INFJ Life in the Modern World, how INFJs can find happiness, purpose, meaning, and value at no sacrifice to their authenticity. In fact, promoting more authenticity for INFJs mode of living. Book to get, the link is below, guys, if you want to check it out. As well as this prequel, The Ecstatic Soul, which is the deepest investigation you'll find on the INFJ mind, on INFJ consciousness. What is it like to be an INFJ? What is the INFJ's internal world like? This is the book to get, a new look at the INFJ personality. And as usual, the lifeblood of my channel, guys, is my Patreon page. So there's a link below if you would like to support me. My channel very much depends on your kind and generous donations. You can access the community there, bonus content, in-depth discussions of videos from my mainstream YouTube and my books, as well as ask me questions directly. So that's fun, consider it, and I'll talk to you next time, guys.